Okay, good evening, everyone, and welcome to our presentation today. We were supposed to have a brother presenting from Tanzania, but he's having connection problems. We have his slides, so Brother Kwame will try and present them on his behalf. And as and when our brother joins us, he will join us. But we can start now. Over to you, Brother Kwame.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm just muting Brother Gay because Brother Madi because there's sound from his background. Of course, if he's ready to share, he can always unmute himself. So thank you, Chair Sister Chizomo, for introducing the topic. I hope everyone can hear me okay.
Yeah, thank you. Brother Amadou is here. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Is that Brother Madu?
Thank you. Yes,
Oh,
Gay.
yes. Okay, that's okay. So the presentation today is on the United Nations of Africa. This presentation has been put together by our able brother from Tanzania, who is called Mr. Adrianus Andrew Muganga, in brackets Ramadan. The slides have been created by our brother, and due to internet challenges, because of the contextual challenges within Tanzania, he's unable to present himself. However, he did send these slides to our chair of the UNA initiative, Brother Welcome, and who then sent it to me, and so I am presenting on behalf of our brother. So for clarity, I am not Mr. Adrianus Andrew Muganga. I am Christian Kwame Agbodza, the overseer of the Consensusism Study Group, which hosts the Saturdays unification sessions like today. Every Saturday, we hold our unification meetings, because every Saturday for us is a discussion on unification. So thank you very much for coming. Brother Andrews is an agronomist from Tanzania, and those are his contacts. As you can see, he has a map called the UNA Continental Transformation Map, and 2025 to 2035. And he says, from fire to federation, tracking Africa's political evolution. And he has marked on the map aspects of the continental situation. There are aspects of youth civil unrest, military in power. Then there is transitional tension zones. Then there are strong civilian leadership. And then there are disputed or conflict zones. Those of you who are co-hosts, please keep an eye on the waiting room. Brother Pigeon, I think you'll be doing that, won't you? Thank you. According to the brother, also just so you know, Brother Adrianus wrote a book with the same title, and luckily enough, our sister here, Sister Njidika, found a book in her in her posts, and then she shared them with us, and so we are very pleased, and I suppose very happy that our brother Adrianus wrote a book on the very topic that we have been discussing since 2023, and he's written a book on the topic. So this presentation is a presentation on the book. And according to Brother Adrianus, there are two main purposes of this presentation. It is to present the book, and then to also show an actionable blueprint for the UNA. UNA standing for the United Nations of Africa.
Brother Kwame?
Yes.
Can I just ask you to go back to the first slide?
Yep. Happy to do that, Chair.
There
it is.
just for you to explain the key, because some of us are on a phone, so we can't really see what the colors mean.
Okay. Yeah. So what are on the map are the current territories of Africa, from Morocco in the north all the way to South Africa in the south, and then Madagascar. The keys are one. The first one is civil areas where there is youth civil unrest. Then the other key with the cross or the multiplication sign are the areas where the military are in power or aligned, or they are aligned. I think that is the Sahelian states, if I'm right. Then there is the third key is the transition stroke tension zones. These are where there are tensions and so on. Then the fourth key is strong civilian leadership. And then the final key is the disputed or conflict states. So that's what they are. The difference between the strong civilian leadership and disputed conflict zones it's not very clear to me myself, because the colors are all the same on my screen. They are both black, but one is a square, the other is a circle. The strong civilian leadership is a square. The disputed conflict zones is a circle. So I'm not sure, as the colors are the same on my screen.
I am
I'm not
seeing
sure.
blue, orange, gray, black, yellow. So maybe that's why. Yeah. Okay, that's all right. Yeah.
Okay, on my screen I can't see the distinction
Okay.
in terms of colors. What I can see, the distinction for me are the shapes. That's what are distinct. Thank you. All right, so going back then, so there are two main purposes: present the book and show an actionable blueprint for UNA. Let's be mindful that the word Africa itself is under dispute, but we'll just bear that in mind as we go through. So according to the book, there are four main wounds, what you call Africa's wounds, Africa in Spain. The first is the pre-colonial, which I think means that there was one land and there was no concrete division of the continent into territories. Although we know that there were independent states before 57 when Ghana became independent, but we know that Africa was one land. The Berlin Conference of 1884-1885 was the one that divided Africa without African representatives. The arrogance, I think, and the illegitimacy, in fact, even illegality is showed in that conference. In, of all places, Germany, who themselves should have understood, because they fought for their own unification. Then followed by post-independence, where we have 55 fragmented nations. 55 because we are counting the Western Sahara that Morocco disputes as part of the nations of Africa, because the African Union recognizes Western Sahara as a separate state, but Morocco is still refusing. And according to Brother Adrianus, they are weak political and economic identities. Naturally, as you can see, I mean, 55 fragmented nations is just a geographical nonsense. And I think Brother Adrianus' position is the same. What are the consequences? The consequences are ethnic tensions, sometimes even within the same nation. Swaziland, for instance, is a monarchy, and the Swazi king is a king of the people, the people, and yet his own people, even his own people, he is oppressing them. Never mind nations like Kenya, where they are different nationalities. So we don't use the word tribe, we use the word nationality, because every Because Africa is made up of many nations, some of them in 4 or 5 countries, demarcated in Berlin. And as you know, Warm Up Africa has been fighting for the return to one land. The other consequence is fragile security. And the notes are that Africa's division began with foreign powers. Today, 55 nations are often too small to defend themselves, compete economically, or speak with one voice globally. And this is underpinned by the African Continental Free Trade Area, as you'll understand, is the idea that you cannot work effectively, efficiently when your markets are fragmented. So the idea is to turn the whole of the land, Africa, into one continental free trade area. And that in itself tells us that the idea of 55 separate markets is an economic nonsense. Next slide.
Can
According to
I interrupt again,
Janet.
Brother Kwame?
Sorry?
We've got, can I just interrupt? We've got a suggestion from Sister Tapua, and also the brother who is supposed to be presenting is sending messages. If somebody can try and check them, what he said.
I'm happy to check, Sister Chizomo, if you want me to.
He said yes to something, not sure what that was.
Let me just, yeah, he's just said yes to what I'm saying at 6:35. That's all he said. Sister Chizomo says happy, sorry, Sister Chizomo says, Sister Chizomo, I'm canceling Chizomo's message.
Me.
Sister Chizomo can speak, she's here. Chair, if she can speak, with your permission, I can't see any message from Sister Chizomo.
Chair, I put a message that a suggestion. Can we maybe see whether we can agree or not on it?
That's what I've just said, that you've suggested something.
I can't see it in the
And
chat.
then-
What is the suggestion?
Can you just say it, Sister Tapua?
Yes, I've suggested that maybe we could have someone write down questions that we have on each of the slides so that when he presents, he knows some of the areas that we had questions on.
Yeah, okay. Chair, with your permission, can Sister Tapua do that for us?
Okay. Does
Thank
this Zoom not download the chat if people put the questions in the chat?
Not automatically.
Oh, it
Yes,
doesn't.
if they put it in the chat, yes.
You will be able to
Then we
download
can
the
all see.
questions.
If people have different questions and they want to type that into the chat, that would be helpful. But then
Yeah,
they'll
and
be
then you
scattered all over the
download them
place.
from,
So
and then you download them from the chat, and then the brother can,
okay.
Look at the question.
if
All right.
that's okay for everyone.
I think that's so. If you have a question, put it in the chat, and then Brother Pigeon will download the questions and compile them as we go along. Brother Pigeon, are you able to do that? For each question that is put in the chat, you note it down, and then at the end you compile them in a numbered format so that if Brother Adrianus can speak, then he can address them. Is that okay, Brother Pigeon? We can hear you. Yes, I can hear you. But you are far away from your mic, brother. Chair, I can't hear Brother Pigeon. I don't know if you can. I
Yeah,
can't hear him at all.
let's just let Sister Tapua do it, because
Okay.
Brother Pigeon might have some challenges.
Okay. Thank you. All right. Let me continue with the presentation then.
Okay.
Is that okay, Chair?
Yes, please.
Thank you. So, according to Brother Adrianus, Africa has the following strength. Overall, it's the richest continent of this planet. It has a population of 1.5 billion people. Its land is 60% of the world's uncultivated land. It has mineral reserves, 30% globally of all global mineral reserves. 70% of the world's cobalt reserves are mainly in DRC. 80% of manganese, which is essential for steel, are also on the African continent. 70 to 90% of platinum group metals are also on the continent, mostly in South Africa and Zimbabwe. 60 to 70% of global diamonds can be found in Botswana, DRC, Angola, and South Africa. 30% of the world's gold are found on the African continent: South Africa, Ghana, Mali, and Sudan. 75% of phosphate rock can be found on the continent as well in Morocco, Tunisia, and Algeria. 12% of global oil reserves are also to be found on the continent, mainly Nigeria, Libya, Angola, and Algeria. And with billions of animals than all countries. So these are Africa's strength. It's a powerhouse of resources. He's no say that despite these enormous resources, Africa remains fragmented. And then he asks, imagine the power of a united continent. This is a potential that we must harness. We have the African Union, which, as you know, is just another stage of Berlin, Africa. They inherit the current borders, and the achievements are also actually laudable. Although some people have called for the AU to be terminated, we've had a conference here that calls for the AU to be terminated. And if you recall, our Chesi Sachizomo joined us after that very presentation by our brother, I believe, from Ethiopia. And the AU's achievements are mainly four, according to Brother Adrianus. They are peacekeeping: Sudan, Somalia, Mali, Central Africa. The African Continental Free Trade Area, which was set up in 2018, basically unites as a market, brings about 1.5 billion people and 3 trillion GDP. 3 trillion, still below, the US is about 30 something, China is about 19. We are still way, way behind in terms of GDP. But that's one of the AU's achievements. Let's give credit where credit is due. The other achievement is political solidarity, where they've done a lot about, or they've done something about climate change, vaccines, and decolonization to some extent. And then they have the Agenda 2063, which is a vision for a peaceful, integrated, prosperous Africa. We know that some of them will be dead before we get to this 2063. Even some of us in this meeting will not be here at that time. But that is what they have chosen. Some cynics believe they chose this because they will not be here anyway, so they don't really care. But maybe they do. According to Brother Adriana, the AU has made significant strides, and that the African Continental Free Trade Area alone is the world's largest free trade area. But if China is the same population as Africa, then in terms of population, China is the same as Africa, but Africa, because of its land mass, therefore remains one of the world's biggest. All right, next slide. However, the AU currently has limitations. It has no binding authority at all. So if, as is happening in Tanzania, they can't step in. If, as is happening in Sudan, the AU can't step in. In fact, sometimes the AU itself is the problem, because we understand that the Sudanese authorities are causing the problem. Are hosted by Ruto in Kenya. So sometimes the AU itself is a problem. So no binding authority. There's financial dependency. 60% of the AU's budget are from foreign donors. That in itself should tell us there's a problem. How can those who want your resources be the same people who are funding your budget? That just does not make political sense. Then there's fragmented action in crisis, like the Libyan situation, Ethiopia, Tigray situation, and we saw how NATO went beyond the United Nations mandate and caused a regime change, leading to the death of Gaddafi, and because he didn't like the dance of the imperialists and changed the song. Because he changed the song and the dance, they didn't like it. Now they are going around pretending that Gaddafi, because he was too long in power, that is why he was removed. And yet we have people in the West who are heads of state until they die. I don't want to mention names. You know them. They were heads of state at the age of 18. They were still there at the age of 90-something, and they died in the presidency. When it's Africa, everybody thinks that it's not okay. Anyway, the other limitation is slow integration, which is the idea of consensus politics, which prevents decisive action. The note says AU is a bridge, but only half built. Without enforcement, Africa's potential remains unrealized. Then what are the weaknesses? According to Brother Adrianus, please note these are not my slides. I'm just telling you what Brother Adrianus says, okay? And I'm making my own comments between. According to Brother Adrianus, the weaknesses are consensus politics. And why the AU cannot build a united Africa? Because the AU decisions require consensus of all 55 member states. One dissenting voice can block progress for over 1 billion of Africans. Important resolutions often take years or decades. Leaders fearing loss of power stall unity reforms. And consensus may sound democratic, but becomes a cage for African unity. So these are the weaknesses.
Chair, there's a hand up.
Then he makes comparisons. Sorry.
I just wanted to remind the chair that's a hand up for attention. I would assume.
Should I continue, Chair? I've just lowered Brother Gay's hand. After the presentation, he can speak. Yeah. So, thank you. All right. Let me continue. Thank you. Then Brother makes comparisons with lessons from other continents, and one of them, the USA. It did not unite by waiting for all states to agree. You all know the story of the US. There was a war of unification in the USA. The EU uses majority votes, not unanimity, to move forward, which is why the UK, not the UK, which is why England left. Well, the UK left, although Scotland didn't want to leave. They had to leave because the UK left. And so Brother Adriana says that these are comparisons, that maybe we should look at a unification war by implication. Maybe we need the silent states to lead a unification war. I don't know. Maybe that's the way forward. Or the AU should change to majority voting, where one president cannot block the march of history. Maybe that's what should happen. And Brother Adriano says that the UN requires a federal structure with a single parliament making binding laws. So the laws, whether Ruto likes it or not, once this parliament passes a law, Ruto has to abide and stop sending the police under his authority to go and kill young people, because the parliament the law will be binding. This is just an example, brothers and sisters. So the notes are that consensus politics was useful when Africa was newly independent, fragile, and needed to avoid domination, and that today it is a barrier. If Africa waits for 55 leaders to agree on every decision, unity will never happen, will never come. So the UNA must move beyond consensus to a federal system where a single parliament, and we remember Brother Pigeon was sharing with us that even if we have 2,000 different nations on the continent, by which we mean 2,000 different languages on the continent, even if we have 3,000, even 4,000 different languages, to extend Brother Pigeon's argument, even if we have 5,000 languages on the continent, if each nation sends one parliamentarian, that will be 5,000. That is still less than the over 60,000 that we have currently. If you combine all the 55 African nations, the current situation is madness. We've said that over and over again. Anyway, that's my comment. I'm just let me read what Brother Adriano says. He says that if we wait, he says that UNA must move beyond consensus to a federal system where a single parliament can enact laws that binds all Africans, and that only then can Africa act decisively and compete globally. So there's a gap between the vision and the action. So there's bold words from some of them: limited enforcement, national interests override continental goals. We have borders, tariffs, bureaucracy, we block trade, and the AU cannot act as a single unified continent. And our chair, brother, not the chair of this meeting, but the chair of the UNA, brother Welcome, as you recall, made the point that one of the advantages of UNA will be one foreign policy. I mean, is it that people don't have common sense? Sometimes you wonder, whether it's so common, it's not even there anymore. Anyway, so what are the costs of fragmentation? They are weak. I'm trying to move faster because there are 19 slides, so I want to move faster. Weak bargaining power, low industrial growth, security vulnerabilities, dependence on foreign armies. Example, if the USA were 50 divided states, today it would collapse. So fragmentation weakens Africa globally because we have 55 micro voices, and sometimes they cancel each other out. And as we've said earlier, there are lessons from other unions. The EU speaks as one bloc. Even if you don't agree, it still speaks as one bloc. USA and China, one voice. China speaks with one voice. China has the same population as Africa, one voice. US, not the same population, one voice. Africa, 55 micro voices. I mean, think about that. And so Kwame Nkrumah reminds us that Africa must unite. If it doesn't unite, it will perish. Not perish in the sense that Africa will cease to exist, or that the people will die, but that we will never be able to play the role we can play on the global stage if we were one united voice. So the notes are: to rise, Africa must consolidate its voices, meaning it must speak with one voice, like the EU, the US, and China. Just imagine Africa, United Africa, saying, this is what Africa says. Come on, everyone will be quiet. When Africa speaks, everybody will be quiet. Why? Because we have the resources. So when we speak, everybody will just be quiet. Nobody can challenge us. So Africa needs UNA, one voice at UN and global forums, one African passport for free movement, one parliament drafting binding laws, one currency for economic dependency. Imagine two people arriving at any airport on this planet. One has a passport from United Africa, the other has a passport from China or USA. Which one do you think will shake people? It's the African one. Common sense. The African passport will supersede a US and a Chinese passport, just like that. One currency for economic independence. That is why Africa needs UNA. This is not a dream. It's a necessity if Africa is to rise as a superpower. Not a superpower to dominate anyone. We don't want to dominate anybody. We just want to live as Africans. We just want the African personality to blossom. That is all. You know, so what is the UNA's vision? Well, one parliament, one market, one army, one currency, one passport, one industrialization plan, strong defense, wealth circulation, and the free movement of Africans, including those of us in the diaspora, so we can come and go as we choose. Currently, we go on holidays, anyway. Every great transformation begins as a dream. UNA is that dream for Africa. Some people say, well, it's are you sure this can happen? Why don't we just keep what we have? You remember when Marcus Garvey was, this is me now diverting a little, when Marcus Garvey was talking about a continent, but during Marcus Garvey's time, there was no Africa, even as we know it today. All we have were colonial territories. And Garvey left his job and started fighting for Africa, for the Africans. They said to him, no, it will not happen. People did not believe that Africa could be decolonized. Just think about that for a moment. And when the USA itself was fighting to be independent, John Payne from Lewis here in England was the one that went to the US as part of the ideological warriors. What did they tell Thomas Paine and others? They told him that what he's saying is not true. That the idea on the basis of which America was fighting, for independence, they said that is not that is fantasy. It's fantasy. That it can never happen. That England at the time, you remember, was the supreme power. They dominated everything. They were the masters at sea. Nobody could challenge Britain or England, if you like. She was just at the top of her game. Anyway, so from AU to UNA, what is a roadmap? So this is where Brother Adrianus gives us a roadmap. And his roadmap is that we should strengthen the African Free Trade Continental Area, the Unified Economic Foundation, establish the African Central Bank, single currency, create African Parliament with 1,000 representatives, binding laws. We could have more than 1,000, but the idea is that we have representatives from the nations. And then we build an African Defense Union, one continental army. And these steps are actionable and built directly on the AU structures. If Gaddafi's vision had come to bear and we had set up the single currency, which he wanted to do, backed by Libyan gold, which he was prepared to do, think about that. That means that we can fund a continental army, one continental army, with our own currency, and we don't need the US dollar. Even right now, we don't need the US dollar, do we? The US dollar is a waste of time. It's just destroying our sovereignty. And this is where the African Free Trade Continental Area comes in. Why do you sell your precious gold for worthless paper? Paper called dollars. But that's what it's, worthless paper. You give your precious gold for paper and use that paper to then buy what you need. Why don't you rather just trade your gold for what you need directly? I mean, it doesn't make sense. So you can understand why they killed Gaddafi, because what Gaddafi was saying made so much sense that some African leaders didn't understand. Some of them never understand anyway, and they will never understand because they are part of the neo-colonialist regime. So there are blocks in their mind mentally, and so they will not understand. It's all deliberate. Anyway, let's move on. UN this is what Brother Adrianus is suggesting. One, awakening. We spend these next 2 years in what we are doing now: public engagement, youth mobilization. So there are UNA study circles, CSG part of that. Our student, we should set up student networks. And here, let me say that, please, as some of you have noted, our North African brothers and sisters seem to be not part of all this discussion. I'm talking about Libya, Algeria, Tunisia, Mauritania, Egypt. And some of Africans do not want them, they say, because they think that All they are interested in is the religious domination of Africa. Some believe that that's what Gaddafi was all about. He wanted Islam or the Muslim faith to dominate Africa. That's not our understanding, but some of our brothers and sisters have drawn our attention to that. And their argument is that that was what really Gaddafi was about. And the argument also is that our northern African brothers and sisters do not respect we Black Africans enough, that they treat us with more disrespect in their countries than even the Europeans. That is what, I'm not saying that that's what they say. And some of them have cited how they are treated in the airport in Egypt, for instance, how they are treated, and so on and so forth. So I'm saying that some of our brothers and sisters have concrete, real life experiences to share on how they are disrespected by our North African brothers and sisters. Unfortunately, Africa is one continent, so we have to speak to them, or they have to speak to us. Then Brother Adrianus suggests integration for the next phase, where there's policy and institutional harmonization. And here, some of the actors have the academics, like myself, like yourselves, economists like yourselves. We have Brother Kuku here, they have to be engaged. Pan-Africanists like Brother Pigeon, Sister Chizomo, the chair here, and a lot of you who are here. Sister Tapua, all of you who are here. Brother Gay, who joined us from Gambia, who is here again today. Then the next phase is Confederation, 2028 to 2030. Where the UNA forms the Council of States Pilots. And then the last stage is the Federation, which can be achieved. Where there is a will, there is a way. Sir Mountbatten, Lord Mountbatten, the gentleman, I think he was the Queen's cousin, wasn't he? The cousin of the former head of state of England, of the UK. Sir, is he Sir or Lord? I think it was Lord Mountbatten. Do you know he unified India in just under 1 year? He unified India. The only thing they did was they carved out a part for Pakistan because of the Hindu-Muslim conflict. But the entire, what we know today as India, was not one country. It was the British that decided to unify the entire continent, the entire Indian subcontinent, I mean. And it only took him just visits to the monarch, say, you sign here, so you sign here, you sign here. and they signed. That is how India became one country and inherited everything, the name, diplomacy, everything. And even the army, the Indian army, was also inherited one army. They only carved out the one for Pakistan, the Pakistani army, and so on. So Brother Adrianus' implementation model is not actually far out. It is achievable if we have the will, if the will is there and people can see the vision clearly. It is achievable. Brother Adrianus then has a UNA Continental Revolution Status Map. Anyway, this is what Sister Chizomo was asking me earlier. And Sister Chizomo, our chair today, did say that she could see the colors. I couldn't, but I can now see the colors on this page. And so, according to the current map, Togo, Morocco, Nigeria, Uganda, Tanzania, Eswatini, South Africa, they have youth civil unrest. The military is in power in Niger, Mali, Burkina Faso, Chad, Sudan, Madagascar, Gabon, Guinea, and Egypt. Those are aligned. I'm not sure what the brother means by aligned, but the following are aligned. It could be that the military is in office and they've had elections, something like that. I'm not sure. Brother Adrianus can explain himself what he means. But the countries are Equatorial Guinea, Algeria, Angola, Senegal, Zimbabwe, Lesotho, DR Congo, Mozambique, Djibouti, Comoros, Sierra Leone, Liberia, Cote d'Ivoire, Gambia, Benin, and Tunisia. And there are about 18 of them. Then about 10 of them have strong civilian leadership. They are Namibia, where our brother welcome is from, Botswana, Ghana, Rwanda, Zambia, Mauritius, Sao Tome, Seychelles, Malawi, Helena, and Cabo Verde. Those have strong civilian leadership. And then finally, we have the disputed or conflict zones, some of which have slave market. Can you believe it? 21st century. They are Libya, which NATO helped to create. Somalia, which capitalism helped to create. South Sudan, which imperialists helped to create. Western Sahara, which Morocco, aligned to the US, is disputing. So this is a current map. And as you can see, it's not good at all. It shows that Africa's political pulse. It shows it. But it also shows that momentum exists. Youth and strong civilian states are key catalysts. So we can use those as the catalysts. So that's the current map. You remember, towards colonial freedom, Nkrumah also produced a similar map. And the map showed that the entire continent was under colonial rule. Which ones were British, which ones were French, which ones were Portuguese, and so on and so forth. Next slide. A few slides left, about 3 slides left, then we are done. Africa rising, the power of one. So unity will give us, will make us powerful. Not powerful to cause any problems for anyone, but powerful in the sense that we have control of our own resources, our own government, our own army, and so on. So to give us strength, security, and to help industrialize Africa, and give us financial sovereignty, where we will no more use the US dollar or any other foreign currency. We will trade in our own currency. When somebody in the territory, somebody in Kigali buys something from someone in Mombasa or in Accra, they pay with an African currency, not dollars. You know, and then we'll have one passport, one currency, one army, one market, one parliament. So unity is not poetry, it is power. It will give us power, real, measurable, transformative power. And when Africa transforms Africa, the world will also be transformed. There's no doubt about that. So the call to action is this. We began with a dream. The dream, as you remember, goes back to our forefathers, the Nkrumahs and so on, the Marcus Garveys, the Nkrumahs. They had this dream, they started the Pan-African conferences. I'm thinking here about the boys, Booker T. Washington, where it all started from for Garvey, where he went to the US to see Booker T. Washington. Amy Garvey and Sylvester Williams, and you remember then the Nkrumahs then were the next group of people, the Nkrumahs, the Bandas, and so on. Yeah, and the dream has not died; it still continues. So we need to mobilize our youth, our leaders, and civil society, and inspire a movement. Currently, there's no movement towards a united Africa. Our people have been so impoverished. The ordinary African, I went to do some research in Africa. I went quietly. Nobody, I didn't tell anybody why I was there. I just went. I lived as an ordinary person, and I just observed life. And it was not something to write home about. The ordinary African has not enough cash, is struggling to live, is struggling to eat, is struggling to pay his or her rent. It's just very, very difficult for the ordinary African. And in parts of the continent, some Africans have been killed by other Africans, and the security services are not able to do much. It's just bad for the ordinary African. But all that can change if we begin to create a movement. So one of the reasons we have these Saturday sessions is we are hoping to inspire a movement toward a united Africa. There are those who do not believe in it, or think it won't work, or think that they say, well, you can't even unite Nigeria. How are you going to unite the whole of Africa? But they forget that it is a united Africa that will solve the Nigerian problem, because Nigeria is not a country created by Nigerians. It is a neo-colonial territory imposed on the Nigerian nations, the Yorubas, the Hausas, the Igbos, and so on. So it is not an organic nation. So why would anybody expect it to work? It won't work. Ghana only works because of Nkrumah. Because Nkrumah, foisted it. He created institutions to the CPP to make it happen. So so we need a movement. So that is it, Sister Chizomo. Chair, his slide 18 is closing, and question and answers. And he has put on the United Nations of Africa map, he has put Cape Town, Nairobi, Kinshasa, Odaha, Addis Ababa, Cairo. You recall that in the paper I presented, I also suggested Lagos, although a brother said Ibadan would be better. I also suggested Algiers. I suggested Kigali as a memorial center. We've suggested Johannesburg, but I have since been informed that Johannesburg is not a good example, and that we must go to Malawi, that Malawi has what it takes to be our industrial capital, I've been told, by a brother, and so on and so forth. Those discussions will continue. But at the end of the day, what we are saying is that the continent which will be one land, and then certain current locations will serve as our leading locations, whether it is for political leadership, whether it's as our site for inspiration, like the mausoleum in Ghana, and so on and so forth. So from fire to flourish, the people's continent awakens. So on behalf of Brother Adrianus, for whom I have presented, thank you for listening and appreciation to. He says he appreciates CSG. As you know, UNA has been our vision as well, and I wrote a paper on it back in 2023. So those of you listening to me, you will think that it's actually my slides, but it's not. They are not my slides. They are those of our able brother Adrianus Muganga of Tanzania. Tanzania is an interesting one because of Brother Nyerere, you recall, who famously said, the white man is not my brother. Why he said it, I don't know, but anyway. Chair, his last words are invitation for Q&A and open discussion. And this
Okay.
on the next slide. Apparently, he's giving his permission for us to share the slides. So we'll share the slides. And the way we'll share it is this. I will add his slides to the document that we want to release. And if it's okay with Brother Adrianus, if it's okay with him, he will co-opt him as one of our resource persons for unification. I'm sure he will agree. And so he'll be like an expert for us on UNA. With that, I'll make one final comment, Chair, and then I will for you to continue. The final comment I want to make is that all this requires money. If civil society is going to do what Brother Adrianus and myself have said, we need money to do this. So we are considering setting up some kind of fund, and we will announce it at the right time, and that fund will be the fund that raises the money. It will be a global fundraising event to raise the money for unification. Because right now, as you can see, even the AU's meetings are funded by our enemies. Sorry to use that term, but they are enemies of our sovereignty. So it's not a good thing that your enemy will be cooking your food, right? My auntie once told me that do not let your spouse, yeah, your future spouse, cook food outside your house and bring it to you at home. My auntie told me it's not a good idea. Yeah. So the idea that in this case our enemies of our sovereignty are the ones paying for our leaders to meet. Come on, common sense should tell us that it's not a good idea at all. So we are going to be announcing the fund at a later stage. At the moment, our chair, Brother Welcome, is just guiding us so that we can release the document, after which we'll have more sessions of this kind to discuss the content and agree. However, the document, when we release it, will be released, signed by a number of us here who have put our names forward. And so we release it first to our WhatsApp group of members who are here and who have joined and who have said, yes, I'm happy for my signature to go on the document. So they will read it first. They'll have the unanimity. We can't have somebody disagreeing with one part. If somebody disagrees with a part, then we all have to rally around and hear what they have to say. And then we agree with him or her on their suggestion. We can't afford to just disagree with anyone just because we don't like what they are saying. Okay, there has to be unanimity. So it's like an African town square meeting. At the end of the day, in any typical African public square meeting, chair, at the end of the day, whatever the disagreements, we all leave that space on a unanimous agreement that this is what we want. That is the African way. This issue of I disagree to the extent that you want to start a war, that is not the African way. So we are going to use the African way of doing things, the Ubuntu, to begin to shape these discussions. Thank you, Chair. I'll pause there. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think we have, according to my watch, about 45 minutes. Brother, I was going to suggest that we go back to the slides and people can ask questions, but then we've got questions in the chat and we've got a lot of comments from the brother who was supposed to present. So I can't go through the chat because I'm on a phone and I can't see the postings clearly. Sister Tapua, do you want to go through what the comments the brother has sent through? Because he can hear us, but he can't speak.
Yeah, Chair, can I suggest
Hello.
somebody goes through that? I have spoken a lot. I want to have a brief rest.
No, I was asking Sister Tapua.
Oh, thank you.
Is Sister
Hello,
Tapua?
Chair.
Yeah.
What are you asking me to do? Sorry.
Remember, we discussed about questions and comments and whatnot, and they were all going in the chat.
Yes.
Yeah. So we've also got the originator of this document has posted a number of things responding to people's comments. So maybe we start with his comments, or you want to go one by one all the way down?
Okay. Okay, I'll start by reading out his comments.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, if you can hear me, because I've been tracking his responses. Brother Pigbin has asked the question, what is the author's criteria for getting those one?
Speak close to your mic, please.
Okay. Brother, I'm saying in the meantime, whilst I'm reading the responses from Brother AA, Brother Pigbin has asked the question, what is the author's criteria of getting those 1,000 representatives?
And he responded.
Oh, did he? I missed
Yeah,
it.
he has. He has.
All right. Okay. Right. So his responses to some of the questions are: Africa is capable of refining its oil, but now blocked by those forces.
Back to the
Because
mic,
I think
Apua, please.
if we've been following the Dangote issue with Trump saying he's worried about the conflict in Nigeria, the Christians getting persecuted. Those who are analyzing the context of how this is happening are saying they're not happy that Africans have started to refine their own oil, and therefore America and the rest of the West is losing control. Brother AA also says that colonial economic designs, export economy is outward facing economy. And then lack of continental coordination is a big problem because 55 separate markets, no unified industrial plan, foreign controlled mining and oil companies also undermine Africa unification. And he also mentions corruption and weak industrial investment. United Nations of Africa would establish continental industrial zones and African-owned refineries, if you're talking about oil. Okay, I'm scrolling down to the next one. Okay, he says 1,000 parliamentary representatives. Representation could be proportional based on population, e.g., Nigeria, 200 million, around 80 seats, Ethiopia, 120 million, around 45 seats, smaller nations under 5 million, at least 2 seats, and so on. So no voice is erased. Yeah, I think the interesting part with some of our previous discussions there is that he's maintaining the Berlin countries, but that's open. And then the next one is, okay, there was a question, I think there was a statement that I wrote to say that another advantage that Africa has is its youthful population, which people can't just replicate. And Brother Adriana
If you can,
says,
Sister Tapua, if you can position yourself where you are right now, the voice is much clearer. Yeah.
all right. Okay. So Brother Adrianes is saying, with regards to Africa's youthful population, when it comes to market issues, population is power. I also remember reading somewhere where some economist was saying the population in Africa is debt-free. People live on the amount of money they have. So gaining access to the African market is not debt dependent. I'm not sure what the implications are for the economy. He also says that Brother Adrianes also says that this document is very important too on supporting CSG mission on developing the United Nations Africa Blueprint, and he's provided us with a link. I think there's something that we need to go and have a look there. I haven't looked at it. So that's the last thing that he's posted. I think that's all there is for now.
Okay.
Chair.
Chair,
Okay. Hello.
can I suggest that brother Welcome, if he hasn't already, pick up that link, he may have already, and then and lead on that for us. Thank you.
Okay. Now, a few other people had questions. I think we had a hand up earlier. My suggestion would have been if we go back to the slides, if people have questions on each slide, or we just ask general questions.
You have 2 hands up and have been for a while.
Okay,
you.
Ida, do you want to remove the presentation if we're not going to use it, so I can see the hands? Thank you. Sister Ida.
I was wondering, please. I missed the very first bit of the presentation, but I was wondering why, if the brother is writing in the chat, why he couldn't. Is his voicemail not working or something? Why he couldn't present it? Maybe you
No,
could
he
re-explain.
couldn't. He couldn't because he's in Tanzania and there's so many problems. He can hear us, so he gave us permission to present it ourselves, which Brother Kwame did. So now we finished. We are now on question and answer session.
Thank you.
Okay. Brother Amadou Gay had his hand up. Was it Amadou had his hand up earlier?
Yes, hello. Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for this presentation. Very, very interesting and very informative. Very, very great ideas. Thank you very much to the author and the deliverer. But I'm just a bit lost now. If you could help me just connect before I pose my proper questions. I seem to see a trajectory here very different from the nations that we had discussed here some 2 weeks ago, Yoruba nation and other nations. I see here a trajectory relying on the current states. If I could have a clarification on that, or if you've made, I also saw that there was a third part to be hosted last Saturday. I could not make it, whether that is the one that is being done today, and just where we are in terms of the blueprint that was presented 2 weeks ago that I commented on.
Okay.
And then I could pose my questions, if you understood what I mean.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, what happened is we've been dealing with Brother Kwame's presentation. And then last week we were supposed to have the presentation we've just had today from Brother Andreas. Is it Andreas? But he couldn't Muganga. So because he's based in Tanzania, he has connection problems. But he gave us the presentation to go through it. So Brother Kwame went through it on his behalf. So it's not the same document we were using in the past few weeks. This is a different presentation from someone who is also working on something similar.
Yeah, so how does it connect? Sorry, how does it connect to the previous one? Because they are completely different.
They are different because it's two different presenters. So we wanted to see what he has got, then compare with ours, work together and come with something that's joint.
Okay. So we are still in the draft stage. Ideas have not crystallized yet.
So we've now got two different ones to compare and work on. So
okay,
because this Brother Ngunga has also written a book on United Nations of Africa, which is already published. So somebody found the book and then we found the author. So this is the author we are working on today. This is his presentation of the book.
So this means, if I understand, sorry, there will be summaries of each of these ideas, and then have a kind of session or sessions where they'll be looked at to see what to integrate or which ones to pick or whatever. Is that the pathway?
That's right. So we've looked at the two documents, then we'll go back and then come back again. Hopefully Brother Gunga will be at some point able to come in live. But it's now two groups or two thoughts coming together to then work as one. Yeah.
Okay. Under the vision, the global vision of Africa United Nations,
Yeah,
right?
the vision
This
is
group.
the same, United Nations of Africa, and both documents are calling it the same name.
Okay. The reason,
Yeah.
actually, let me just also inform you here, this is important globally. The reason I'm asking this question is because I did not introduce myself properly the last time, just coming new. But I am also a member of a platform called Forum One Africa. And that platform has some individuals that are trying, these are all Pan-Africanists from various fronts. So they're trying to see how to bring the different movements together. That's not an immediate thing, but there is a process to try to do that. And it is taking somehow the initiative to do that, and is already in contact with many other movements around right now. So, and these are being connected to the ongoing processes. You've heard about the Togo Congress, I think next month or so, and others and others. You know, everybody's jumping and doing things. So once we've learned some of these issues that we have today, so many groups saying that they have the right path and working in silos, I mean, we are not going anywhere. I mean, Nkrumah and others were, you know, as everybody said, as Mr. Kwame said, we're all working in unison. There were not many divergent groups until you had the Monrovia group, right, at the 63 conference in Ethiopia, Addis Ababa. So, but now we have like hundreds. I'm sorry, I
Yeah.
maybe
Do you want?
exaggerate
Do
a
you
bit.
want?
So
Shall I pass that?
where yeah,
Yeah.
so
Shall
what
I
I'm trying to
pass?
say is, if I may finish,
Mm-hmm.
yes, what I'm trying to say is that because of this context that we currently have, you know, your mission, your group, which is having very great ideas, I believe, is just one of those many that are trying to do this in their own way. So I am part of a group that has seen that problem and trying now to see how to bring them together, all with their
Yeah.
own agenda. And,
We've
and so,
understood.
so that's why I'm interested. I'm a member of that group to also, you know, apart from potentially being part of what you're doing, but also potentially bringing you to interface with the others. So where we can discuss together under the spirit of Ubuntu and Ma'at, you know, and have an Indabas concept in terms of the dialogue that we will have together. That was just something I wanted to throw out there as an information. Thank you.
Yeah, we've understood that. So I'll pass that on to Brother Kwame to comment on it, because that's a very idea that we're trying to put together too.
Yeah.
Brother Kwame?
Yeah, thank you very much. If I will thank Brother Amadou Gay for now telling us where he is coming from. He did promise us that he will change that image, because some of our members didn't like the image. He told us, "Oh, it's not mine. I will change it," but he hasn't changed it. Anyway, that's just a small point. We've heard what he said. We are conscientists. I mean, when I say we, I mean those who are in the process of putting together a position on UNA are conscientists, and conscientists are not ideologues. They are not fundamentalists in the sense that they don't listen to other people. As you know or may not know, Chapter 5 of Conscientism is based on what you might call analytical mathematics, the set theoretic terms. And that's because we believe, or Nkrumah believed, that to think clearly about anything, you must set it out in clear analytical terms so that there's clarity. So I'm glad that Brother Amadou has joined us again today and has shared his thinking. So what Brother Amadou is hearing is actually the way we do things. We hear from everyone. We all share our thinking. And so that is why he's hearing what he's thinking is different from what he heard the last time. That is because we are open to all suggestions. Yeah. So what I would suggest, Chair, is if it is okay with Brother Amadou Gay, why he should come and present to us. Since he's part of a forum, we give him the chance to come and present their ideas to us. That's the first thing. Secondly, of course, we are happy to join him, to join others. Why? Because we all want the same thing. Conscientism believes that once we all accept the same principle, there's no point fighting over policy. We use policy in a very broad term to mean how we get from here to where we want to get to. Of course, there will always be discussions or differences. Some will say, well, let's go by car. Some will say, well, let's use the aeroplane. Some will say, no, let's walk. Others say, no. Let's jog. Others say, no. Even with jogging, some will say, no. Some will say, no, let's not jog. Let's use the bus. Some will say, no. All kinds of differences. So, in terms of how to get from A to B, there will always be differences. But conscientism takes a position that once we all agree on the same principle, let's minimize the fight over the pathways and agree unanimously on the path that will get us there faster or quicker or better, however we defined it. Which means that we have to take a scientific view, you see, of what it is we are doing. So personalities, feelings, emotions, this is what I want, everybody has to listen, those don't come into it. It is a scientific position. In science, there is only one way to get to anywhere, the fastest. Yeah, that is why light travels in a straight line. And those of you who watch the fight between Muhammad Ali and Congo many years ago, we remember what Muhammad Ali said, that the fastest, if you want to hit someone, you throw a direct blow, whereas his opponent was going round. Use that analogy to just say that we are open. We say that if at the end of the day, whatever our differences, there has to be a scientific position on how best to get from where we are now to where we want to be. And once we set out the scientific position, just as our brother Andrianus has done in the way he's done, then I think we will all agree on despite our differences, at the end of the day, we should all agree, as we do in the African Public Square, whatever our differences, unanimously we think this is the way to go. So, like I said before, Chair, let me just end with this. Our chair of the UN initiative is Brother Welcome. He's the one leading all this. Now, under his direction, we shall release the first paper based on all the discussions, and then members will read it. These are those who are prepared to put their names as signatures. They will read it, and once we read it, we will meet ourselves, iron out things amongst ourselves, come to a unanimous position, which we will then release a paper that will go to all Pan-African groups, and then from there we will have series of meetings to arrive at a unified position. So that is the way forward for us. I hope, Chair, that kind of clarifies how we can move forward. So one, Brother Gay should come and present to us if he has similar or different ideas, and then secondly, yes, Brother Gay, we are open to different ideas. Thank you.
Thank you, Brother Kwame. So, Brother Gay, are you presenting next week?
No, just a short one there. I'm not sure he understood me very well, because I did not say I belong to one that has defined its way of reaching unification. I said there are many. I've had experience with few, but there is now also a platform trying to bring the various factions together. So that one doesn't have its own. It's trying to see what the others are doing and bring them together. That will lead us to a Pan-African Congress, for instance, right? So it's not one which has already designed and finalized, because that is not the way to do it. You have to, of course, we've talked about consensus here now, but some kind of consensus with others, because it wouldn't be successful if we have 10 different groups all fighting for African unification at the same time and all having different trajectories. We are just joking. So, and I know you understand that. So I'm saying these are people, individuals, not attached to any specific group, but trying to bring those groups together. Kwame, that's what I meant there.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, Chair, we understood what he said.
So who are they? Who are these people?
Yeah.
Among them, it's called Forum One Africa. Forum One. It's rather informal, not yet very structured properly, because it's trying to bring the groups together. It's structured itself. It's having indabas, it's having conferences, online, among those that are within the group, just like something similar to maybe to what you're doing. But it has been doing this for a while.
Okay.
So now they're just trying to be in touch with the other group who are like yourself. There are many others like you. Some are even more advanced in their stages as compared to what I've had so far in the 2 sessions I have that you're doing, even though your ideas are great. Others have many great ideas, different groups.
So at the moment, you haven't got anybody that can present. So
My hand is up.
just we are running out of time. We've got so many hands up. So can we have Brother Pigeon?
Yeah. So, Chair, what I was saying to Brother Maduge is that we understood what he said. He says he's in a group with different groups. We've heard him. Can he come and present to us what their ideas are? That's what we're asking for. So we understood clearly what he said.
Yeah. That's okay. That's fine. That's fine.
Are you able to do that for us? That's our question.
Yeah. I'll check with the group, and then I'll come back. I'll send a message on that one.
Yeah, because it's a grace. Surely they must have a view on certain things. So
of course.
Just come and share it with us. That's what we're asking for.
Yeah. I'll share that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Brother Pigeon.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
First, permit me to thank Brother Kwame for the presentation and for Brother Muganga for doing and putting this together. The word Muganga is what a white man call witchcraft or witch doctor. To us is a witch doctor in Swahili. I believe is a doctor for unification. One is that, permit me also to recognize that I'm part of the forum Brother Guy is talking about, Forum 1 in Daba, and I'm in more than 200 forums. So maybe I might be in even more forums than what he has. And we have been, I think what Brother Kwame is putting, the main purpose of us is to give a philosophical and ideological guidance to various forums that push Africa unification and liberation and anything in that sort. And I don't think there's any other forum that does philosophical and ideological studies to the unification, liberation, and development of Africa. And that's where we are coming from. But yes, as he said, our goal is unification, so we can always compromise and agree on that. Now, in regards to the presentation, I have a few comments. One, I do not agree with unification in line with federations and states being called unification of nations, unless we change the name from United Nations to be either United States or United Federal of Africa. But if we then talk about United Nations, we must define what is a nation. And I don't think the current states or federals, whatever you call them, or regions, fit to be called a nation. In my understanding, a nation is a tribe, which is called a tribe. And therefore, if the author, in his own view, still perceive the element of United Nations as per the meaning of a nation, then I don't think you should be suggesting things like Nigeria being part of represented in that government as per Nigeria, because Nigeria is not a nation as per my definition. Nigeria can be a state or a federal thing. So either we need to have a united federal. And that's why the biggest conversation when I raised it before is, do we want a united nation, a united state, a united federal, or what do we want? In my initial submission, I'll put it forward again, that if we talk about United Nations, I've gone extra length to even give the total summation of numbers of nations. And I think the biggest conversation we still need to have as those groups that Pan-Africans that Brother Guy is talking about is to agree, first of all, on which route of unification are we talking about? Are we talking about the unification in terms of regions, in terms of federals, in terms of states, or the unification in terms of nations? If we can agree on that, then that will be at least advanced way moving forward. And as I've said, I've sat in the States 55, I've sat in One Map Africa, I've sat in Indaba. I'm aware of what happened in Zambia, in that conference that was there, the PSC that's going on in Togo, or that was supposed to go in Togo, the all issues around it. That's why some other movements are not part of that. I'm aware of that, and other movements as well. The next thing I wanted to comment on is, again, on that element of representation in regards of 1,000 questions addressed. Another speaker is saying Nigeria because of the population. I don't accept that as well, because if you now want to say who is more, maybe you want to go through what you call the United States element of states, on number of votings based on states. And that way, then you're proposing United States of Africa rather than the United Nations of Africa. And finally, the question and the comment I want to respond and also ask question on, the element of what Brother Kwame had suggested before, whether Ghana, Rwanda, or whatever. I don't also recognize that if you have to have a United Nations of Africa, we'll still recognize whether Rwanda, because to me, they won't exist. There will be nothing like Rwanda existing, whether to be a genocide state. There will be nothing like Namibia existing or Ghana existing in that United Nation to be given a headquarter of anything. But rather the kingdoms or the nations of Africa will exist, like the Asante Nation or the Luo Nation and the rest. And therefore, if you have to define whether you want to put your headquarters or anything else, it must or should be perceived in terms of nation rather than being perceived in terms of states, which I assume in the United Nations will do away with them. So I think the biggest thing is still here. We have still not agreed on which way forward, whether we need states, we need nations, or we need federals, or we need a mix of states and nations. I think that is still need us to have more conversation around that. So thank you very much. Back to
Okay,
you, Chair.
thank you, brother. Thank you, brother Pigeon. I do remember that coming up in the last discussion, and we ran out of time when the federation thing came up again. And I did comment saying we do need to see both structures. As you're saying, we need to agree, and we can only agree after we've seen the presentations and what each one would look like. At the moment, without the structure on federation, then it's difficult to make a decision. But I was looking into a federation as well, based on the arguments that we really need to, I can't remember who was speaking last time, who said, do we really need to dismantle everything and start all over again instead of working with what we've got? So if those presentations can come through, then we can make an informed decision and agree on something. But we've had 2 presentations so far. Brother Gay is going to come next. Those talking about federations can then come in, and we look at all options and come to an agreement. Because it is getting mixed up. At one point we're mentioning states as the capital, the this and the that. Then federation name keeps coming up, regional segments keep coming up. So we do need to look into all options. This is my opinion. Look into all options and then understand them. So we don't, we've been given timelines, suggested timelines. So that's how I would respond to the federation thing. I would like to see a federation structure, what it would look like and what it means. And also we still seem to be struggling on the nation point of view. I don't know if somebody else
Chair.
has a hello.
Yeah, Chair.
Hello.
The federation it will be the same. It will be a federation. The question that Brother Pigeon has raised in light of Brother Adriana's presentation is that will the federation be on the basis of the nations, or will the federation be on the basis of the neocolonial states as they are now? That is the question. But they will both be federations. They will be a federated nations. So that, I think, is the issue here. How do we define the nation? As far as I understand it, echoing what Brother Pigeon has said, Nigeria is a country. It's not a nation. It's a country of different nations. So is Ghana and Malawi and so on. So That, I think, is what he's asking for, that we clarify. And maybe Brother Adrianus can come back on that and clarify. And so we hear what he has to say to what Brother Pigeon has said. Namely that in his book says the United Nations of Africa. And then in his suggestion, he's saying that in the parliament, for example, Nigeria will send so many pro rata or proportional representatives because of their size. And Brother Pigeon is saying, well, but Nigeria is not a nation. It's made up of the Igbo nation, the Yoruba nation, the Hausa nation, and so on and so forth. So that is what I think is the issue here. So to answer your question, Sister Grace, the federation would still be a federation. The question is, on what national basis will it be? And I think some people are confused. So when Brother Amadou Gay came here the last time, he asked us whether it would be a good idea. Wouldn't it be a good idea to continue using the current country structures? This is what he was concerned about. And our own brother Sam then said, if you recall, because Brother Gay was in the last session, he was in the session before, Brother Sam said in the last session, aren't we going back if we go to the nations? So some people think that if we go back to the nations as they were in pre-colonial Africa, we are going back. I just think that if we reimagine the current borders, like One Map Africa is talking about, something that is going back, why don't we just accept the current borders and go along with them? So those are the discussions. But we are clear. CSG, the document that we have shared, I have not shared it yet, but the document that we have discussed so far is clear that we want the nations themselves to speak. Neo-colonial states claim to be speaking for us, but they are speaking for themselves and they are imperial masters. They don't speak for us. That is our position. So we are saying that we have a voice as nations of Africa. We have been suppressed and oppressed for too long. Now we want to speak. And that has nothing to do with the borders. You understand? Because the Luo nation is in both Kenya, it's in Uganda, it is in Tanzania, it is in different countries. But they don't speak with one voice. They don't speak at all because they are fragmented anyway. The every nation is the same. That's my nation is the same. We are in Togo, we are in Benin, we are in Ghana. Before we were one, we were one. We don't speak with one voice, and so on. So Chair, that is the situation. But Brother Maduge is right. We are not fun. We listen. That's the thing that we listen. That's why Brother Gay was surprised that he had a different view. That's because we listen. We are dialecticians. Our materials is dialectics. That means we listen to opposing views. We don't disregard them because they are different from us. Because you can always learn from an opposing view. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Sister Tapua?
Thank you very much. I'd like to thank our brother Adrianus for the presentation. And right. What I appreciated most is the roadmap.
Just hold on, Sister Tapua. Brother Amadou, can you mute your mic, please? Thank you. Yes, Sister Tapua.
Right. What I was saying is what I most appreciated is the roadmap of the concrete things that we can do. And I think it's point number one of conscientizing people that we can do in our various groups, so that if we are working independent of each other in the different Pan-Africanist groups, if we can get a mechanism to make all of us focus on the roadmap in whatever way we can, whether it be on social media, writing texts, we need to be able to bombard the space with the information that we need, so that when we're discussing things like, are we going federal, are we going states, are we going nation, we're speaking with the people, because we run into the danger of going our own way and leaving people behind. So I think getting concrete steps of what we need to do, even as we are not in one group, as long as we are focusing on the different steps that have been agreed on. This possibly could mean having the groups meet to just agree on the roadmap. What are we focusing on for this year? And this is what everybody else is going to be focusing on for that year. Then we will win. Because I think the more information, the more actors we have on social media and other forms of media, the more successful we will be. So mine is, let's include this, please. And yes, oh, it's on the screen. Definitely, because we need to be working on awakening before we go on to policy. Because once everyone is awake, then we can have a meaningful discussion. Thank you very much. I'll stop there for now.
Somebody is asking if Forum One has a website. Somebody has just said, why haven't other messages being read? Are we discriminating? Hold on, I'm just trying to. Yeah, that's the discriminating one. Anyway, yeah, so that's where we're at now. And the next hand is, I think, Sir Windhoek. Sir Windhoek.
Yes, yes, I have. Thank you, Sister Chair. I have put my hand down because Brother Kwame has emphasized it enough that our UNA wants the unification to go the nation's way, not the colonial state's way. So that's the most principal decision of our UNA. So we are just trying to gather information from the perspective of others who have got the same idea of unifying Africa, so that we can try and marry and accommodate their perspectives and viewpoints as well. But our UNA's perspective is the nation's way. Thank you.
Brother Benny, you're saying please give other prominent voices chance. Can you just clarify what you mean?
Yeah, I think there were a lot of people that wanted to see, but the time is gone now. So yes,
There were plenty of people who did what?
they wanted to see because they were commenting on the chat.
Yeah, we had asked the chats to be read, but okay. Anybody else wants to speak? Apart from Brother Gay? No. Okay, Brother Gay, 1 minute.
No, I think it's clear now. The last one clarified what I wanted to ask. I think it was, from my perspective now, that the UNA believes in the nations as described, but then is open to discussion with other views or perspectives on unification. I think that was what I was trying to get, and I got it from the last man very well, even though Kwame also touched on it. Thank you.
Okay. I don't seem to have any more hands up. Shall we? Oh, I've got Tapua.
Sorry, just as a last minute, one of the reasons why I think we should go the nation's way is to include those nations that were excluded. And my particular nation was excluded by the colonialists because we were very confrontational in how we did not want them here. So what we have in Africa is a situation where you have those nations that did not cooperate with the colonialists have been excluded. So if we continue with the nations, with the states, then we continue to perpetuate the exclusion of those groups. And we've got examples everywhere in Africa Nigeria, you've got all sorts of other situations there. And I think in every place they went, they try to divide and rule. So we're trying to bridge that division. Thank you very much.
Is that the Ndebele nation?
No.
No, okay.
I'm a group that's between Mozambique and Zimbabwe, and we confronted the Portuguese and the British, and they divided us into two. So we're both in Zimbabwe and Mozambique.
What's the nation, just for as a matter of interest? Okay. Okay, brother Kwame, back to you.
Thank you, Chair, for chairing for us today. We thank you, and I think thank you very much. I think that the question you've asked is Tapua, and Mr. Tapua's contribution together are fundamental to our position. The neo-colonial state itself, as it is today, is a site of contestation between different prominent national leaders. So you find the neo-colonial state being fought over. Some have used the term state capture with respect to, say, South Africa. There's not a lot about state capture, which is to say that the Indians there, they believe, have captured the state. All it means is that a particular group are using the state as an instrument to further their own interests. Brother Benny, you recall, raised the question of the Afrikaners in South Africa, and it was clear in our discussion that Afrikaners took over the South African state and used it to enrich themselves and entrench their power, whilst the Civicos were saying no. They were, as you know, some of us know, they were killed in prison and so on and so forth. So what you have both touched on, what about brother Welcome and brother Pigeon before that have alluded to is our position is that the nations have been oppressed and suppressed, some of the nations, and when we come back to the neo-colonial state, even in Ghana today, those of you who don't know the differences, Parliament, the Speaker of Parliament comes from a particular region. The President himself comes from a particular region. You see, and why wouldn't that be the case? If you are the President, wouldn't you like the Speaker to come from your region so that you can dominate politics? Of course. So these are all natural parts of governance. And so what happens? What's happened to the other nations in the neo-colonial territory of Ghana? How about what about this group or that group or that group? So the structure of the current states means that there will never be unity in the sense that we would like it. You see, so those are some of our arguments. But we are open to listen to everyone. We are scientists, and scientists listen to everyone. We listen to everyone. So Chair, I think you can bring the meeting to a close. But ask.
I've got a hand from Brother Benny, a late one. Not sure.
Yeah, you decide.
Just to correct, I was more emphatic on the Zionist presence here, which even caused the Orania to happen. So this is the threat we face. But unification can stop all these nonsenses that are happening here. Thank you.
Yeah. No, thank you very, very much, brother Benny, for that interjection. Sister Grace, please. As the chair, bring the meeting to a close, but ask Brother Pigeon to make announcements before you close the meeting officially, and thank everyone.
Brother Pigeon,
and then I'll close the meeting, and then we'll close the meeting via Zoom.
Thank you so much for chairing and for Brother Cummings for doing that presentation. I think we need to put our way forward directly and clear into context. One is that, as Brother Cummings have said, we have presented 3 terms on the unification of Africa as per nations. We are still building that document in line with the nations. And you are requesting people who are interested in that school of thought to sign to the document that you're developing. However, as Brother Kwame has stated, we are open to other school of thoughts, including those who think United States of Africa or even federal way. And if there's anybody who has any other way, please get in touch with us as early as possible so that we can allow you to present, we listen to what you have, so that we can also see how we can build up what you're having. So the next conversation actually will still build up on the clear path towards that United Nations of Africa. And if anybody report any contrary thinking, we'll give them chance to do that. But that must be reported early enough so that we can prepare for it. I think that is the position we're moving forward. We are building the document to what you want it to be. So we might have the next session as we advance our document to some level, or we might have anybody who think that they have a contrary way forward to present to us so that we listen to what they think about. And with the other information is that let's meet next Thursday for our usual Thursdays study group. And actually to inform members who are present here that Thursdays is our central class. That's where we study the philosophy and ideology, which we are good at, and we have extended to the unification. So please join our Thursday sessions. I will always send a reminder to all of you so that you learn together this philosophy and ideology for decolonization of Africa. So we also have a specific philosophy for us and ideology for us that we study. As the same way we are trying to move to a specific route for the unification. And all recordings for last week are already available on our YouTube channel. And I will also share the recordings for this week by latest Monday. But all recordings, I will share the link. They are already on our YouTube channel. We record our sessions for purposes of reference and education because we are here also to educate. And that is what I can say for now. So thank you very much. Let's meet next Thursday or even next
Saturday. Brother Pigeon, are you going to download the comments and suggestions in the chat and perhaps post them in the UNA group?
When I'm downloading the recordings, I always have an option of downloading also transcripts. So I can share the transcript, which is all conversation, in the UNA chat. But what I will share on YouTube and general is only the link for our video recording. But I'll share
the chat comments into the WhatsApp group.
Yeah, I'll share so, the UNA chat group.
Yeah, so the people can continue discussing them.
Chair, I think that is a good idea. That Brother Pigeon copies the comments in this chat today and then puts them on a UNA group so that we can continue that discussion. I think that's a very good idea. Thank you.
That is noted.
Okay, thank you everyone, and thank you for the presentation. Thank you, Brother Mugaga. Sorry.
Sister Chisomo. Yeah.
Hello.
Maybe before you close, I just wanted to take this opportunity to thank Brother Adrianus that despite all the challenges that he faces from that end of our continent, he made time to be part of our sitting today, even though he could not present himself physically. He made it to our meeting. Very big thanks to him. To Brother Kwame, who has presented to this meeting as if it was his own presentation, a very big thank you to you as well from me as the chair of UNA and on behalf of all who have listened in. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you everyone for turning up. We are grateful. And it's almost, is it 10 past according to mine? Yes, so thank you very much. We have seen this document. We are yet to see Brother Kwame's document and then other presentation on this matter. Thank you very much. Thank you for participation. Thank you.